We
Um,
can get down on the weeds. I guess
yes.
what I would say is let's look into our crystal ball, looking ahead. I mean, speaking sort of what you're talking about, 2 to 4 years from now, God forbid, 5 years from now,
You could
a
be
few years
retired
out,
by then.
what do we see, cloud pricing going? I mean, what are we going to be talking about when we talk about cloud pricing, 2 to 3 years from now? Oh, and what will the conversation be like?
Well, I suppose, I mean, a question I get asked a lot is how low will cloud pricing go?
Right.
Um, and I think it comes back again to this point that cloud represents a whole bundle of different services. Now, it could be possible that something like virtual machines and storage, they become so cheap to operate and they become so competitive they have limited margin. Perhaps they'll start approaching zero, perhaps they'll be given away by the cloud providers. And then obviously the cloud providers can make their margin, can make their revenue through the upsell of other services. Um, this kind of model works well in other industries. So razor blades, for example. Typically when you buy a razor from the drugstore, that is being sold at below cost. It's the purchase of the razor blades later on, that recurring revenue, that actually makes the profit for those companies. So I think it's completely possible that in the future we will see that cost go down to zero for some cloud services. But the whole commoditization issue, I think, terrifies service providers because they hear this term commoditization and they think that means the natural end of differentiation and the natural end of their business.
Yeah.
But that's actually not the case. Just because some cloud services may be commoditizing and in the future may be commoditized, it doesn't mean that there aren't other opportunities to add value and to make higher gross margins.
What in a nutshell are some of those key opportunities?
So I think really moving up the stack. So if we look at Amazon Web Services announcements at reInvent, they started moving away from infrastructure. They started adding value in terms of platform as a service components. AWS Lambda is a good example. So I think further value can be added by looking at the platform and looking at the management of the application. But also in terms of complexity, having a broad portfolio of different products that are well integrated together can add value, as can working with multiple cloud providers and aggregating multiple services across the globe together can be a good way to add value.
Deirdre, the future of cloud computing, I guess it's just, Alibaba is going to buy everyone, and that'll be probably it, I guess. By 2016, 17, Alibaba could acquire Amazon, and they'll make it very simple, I guess. Okay, I'm sorry. What's your take on the future of the cloud, cloud costs?
Well, I think I agree with everything that's been said. There'll be aspects and sort of the raw ingredients of infrastructure will be commoditized, but we're already seeing new as a service, so business as a service. So a lot of the behemoth communication service providers are actually building their own cloud services business. So they already own the networks, for example. So they are now building cloud capabilities for their downstream customers. So we're seeing cloud not be a mechanism to run your technology services, but actually transform them into making money for larger businesses. So I think that there's a whole new wave of business services via the cloud, whereas probably fast forward 4 or 5 years from now, when we talk about cloud, we won't focus in on cloud per se. We'll talk about the layer of services that are provided. It's just another way, it's another infrastructure, it's another technology vehicle. It'll be what is being served and how is that being served downstream.
Mm-hmm. Rob, you're taking the future of cloud computing costs. What we'll be talking about a couple years from now.
Yeah, I like all of the points. I don't think we'll see a race to zero. Marginal cost will never go to zero. As demand increases, right? We're going to see disruptive technologies come in there. So we will settle on a market price. There'll be a small number of providers that dominate that market. We're going to see huge differentiation with people around compliance and regulatory performance needs. We're going to see differentiation on maybe bare metal offerings. You see companies like Rackspace with their fanatical support. That is an absolutely valuable differentiation. So by no means does this mean the end of the market as we know it. What it means is that There'll be a baseline element that people are going to support as a commodity, and then there'll be all of the value add, platform as a service, software applications development, all of those things sitting on top. So I definitely see that. I definitely see the financial markets developing. Just the dollar value of investment in infrastructure and cloud is too high for there not to be risk management mechanisms.
You mean exchanges?
Yes,
yeah.
We'll see that move forward. Again, does that mean that if you need two VMs, you're going to go to an exchange? No, right? But what it means is that brokers like Dell will be buying on exchanges and then parceling those up amongst the SMBs, with their cloud marketplace, effectively, things like that. So there's going to be a lot going on there. I also think that you'll see another cycle of innovation in the hardware. So we will see a cycle of innovation in hardware where you will have non-commoditized infrastructure investment to optimize the delivery of the commodity, right? And if that doesn't bend your brain, nothing will. And that may lead to another shift to on-premise infrastructure, right?
That's a lot. That's an interesting view of the future.
So
everything's full circle in technology.
We'll see what happens, right?
Yes.
If you look at infrastructure as a service as purely a commodity, then the hardware vendors are going to rush to engineer hardware that can deliver commodity cheaper than other hardware, and that may lead to a cycle of reinvestment on premise. We'll see.
All right, it's going to be interesting. I thank the three of you very much. It was interesting. Great comments, and I will send you the link so we can all tweet it. Thank you very much for joining.
No problem.
Thanks, James.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.